And on this Friday, February 14th, 2025 edition of Newsmakers, preliminary tests show Pope Francis has a respiratory tract infection. The Vatican says he is running a mild fever and was in fair condition at Rome's Gemelli Hospital, where he was undergoing drug therapy. The Vatican spokesman says Francis was serene, in good spirits, and had read some newspapers. Francis was hospitalized earlier today after being diagnosed with bronchitis last Thursday. The Vatican canceled his events through Monday. Correspondent Tricia Thomas reports today's development is just the latest in a years-long string of concerns over the health of the leader of the world's 1.3 billion Catholics.
Pope Francis is 88 years old and has quite a few ailments. He has knee problems, which have forced him to go around in a wheelchair over the last few years. He's had intestinal difficulties. Part of his intestine has been removed, and he has had a lot of respiratory problems linked to a childhood illness where part of his lung was removed. Vatican officials are expecting him to stay in the hospital for several days.
A federal judge is blocking parts of two executive orders issued by President Trump aimed at restricting so-called gender-affirming care. Brian Shook has more.
On Thursday, a U.S. district judge ruled in favor of a group of LGBTQ organizations and transgender teens who sued over the orders. The plaintiffs alleged they're without authority and it amounts to illegal discrimination. The ruling temporarily stops federal agencies from withholding funding due to medical facilities providing gender-affirming care. The ruling applies nationwide and is the latest of a series of court orders restricting the Trump administration's recent actions. I'm Brian Shook.
Washington State's newly elected governor, Bob Ferguson, says he'll work with the Trump administration where they have common goals, but he'll fight what he calls President Trump's chaos when he believes the Trump administration violates the Constitution.
I'll work with you on areas of common interest, but you're making it tough, okay? But I'm still committed to that. I really am. But if you overstep your authority, we will stand up to you.
Ferguson also says he'll protect access to health care for pregnant women and people who need gender-affirming care.
In Washington State, we will not treat health care like a political football.
A Texas judge has imposed fines and restrictions on a doctor in New York's Hudson Valley in a case widely seen as a test of state telemedicine and abortion laws. Andrew Whitman reports.
The ruling came from a judge in Collin County, Texas, against Dr. Margaret Daly Carpenter of New Paltz, New York. The judge, citing Texas's abortion laws, barred Carpenters from prescribing abortion drugs to Texas residents and fined her $113,000. New York has a shield law that bars doctors from cooperating with out-of-state legal actions. Louisiana's governor said he signed a warrant to extradite Carpenter there for a trial in another case. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, citing the shield law, said she would not sign it. The Texas case is expected to make its way to the Supreme Court. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
A Michigan Court of Claims judge in Detroit has started a trial to determine if the state's 24-hour waiting period for an abortion is legal. Judge Seema Patel is being asked to rule if the waiting period, a requirement that mothers get counseling before an abortion, and a ban on advanced practice clinicians performing abortions are unconstitutional. Voters approved a constitutional amendment in 2022 that created a state-level right to an abortion. And that's Newsmakers for this Friday, February 14th, 2025 edition. I'm Keith Black.